Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. If you are new to the channel, my name is Sophia and I make bookish videos mainly about literary fiction, books, and mystery thrillers, but a little bit of everything. And today I am back with another book review, one of my most anticipated releases for the first bit of the year, and that is How to Sleep at Night by Elizabeth Harris. This is a new release. It was published at the beginning of 2025 and it's published by William Morrow, which is an imprint of HarperCollins. It is on the shorter side and comes in at just 290 pages, and I have the hardback edition, which I think is the only edition because it's a new release. And I was really drawn to this book because of the central conflict. So Ethan and Gabe have been married for quite a while now, and slowly they have drifted apart in terms of their political beliefs. Ethan has become more conservative while Gabe has stayed very liberal since they've been together. And at the beginning of this book, Ethan announces that he wants to run for Congress, which of course will put some new strains on their relationship, as Gabe is very much not in line with a lot of Ethan's political beliefs. I was really intrigued by this central question because I feel that politics in the US, but also in general, have become so partisan. And the central question of how do we live together when people have such different beliefs about things, and how do we have civil relationships and romantic, intimate relationships with these such varying opinions, just really intrigued me. I feel like it's such a central question in kind of our modern society, and I haven't seen a lot of books actually talk about it explicitly. So in terms of plot of this book, we have Ethan and Gabe, and of course the drama relating to Ethan's decision to run for office, but we also have Kate and Nicole. Kate is a journalist and is Ethan's sister, and Nicole is a woman who she had a relationship many years ago and it went south, but at the beginning of this book, they kind of become romantically linked again. However, she is married to a man and has 2 children. I really liked how this book addressed big questions, but on a smaller level, debates that people are having at the national level and how those things relate to their own homes. For example, on page 102 of the book, Gabe and Ethan are having a discussion about buying a gun for their home. Gabe says, "I will never be a gun owner." And then Ethan responds, "Thousands of people, probably hundreds of thousands of people use guns for self-defense every year." And then Gabe says, "How many people accidentally shoot themselves or a family member instead? How many kids find those guns? We would keep it in a safe." "No," Gabe said. "It's naive to think we can protect our family with a sticker on the window and that says our home has an alarm system. No, there are so many illegal guns out there." "No, how many times do we have to have this conversation?" Gabe said, throwing up his arms in exasperation. "God, you drive me crazy." And the discussion goes on, but that's just one kind of issue that comes up in their marriage, that Ethan has very different views from Gabe, and it kind of trickles into their everyday discussions about how they're going to address that issue as a family. And this book really addresses a day-old question: is who you are as a person linked fundamentally to your politics, or are there, quote, great people on both sides that just have different opinions about how things should be run, and all the different kind of permutations of that? Do people who have very different views, are they able to really come together and have a normal synergistic relationship that both people benefit from and enjoy? Or is that really impossible, or becoming more impossible with how different both sides of the political debate are? So starting with some things that I really enjoyed about the book, I loved that it was on the shorter side and we had short chapters, so it felt like it moved pretty quickly. Each of the main characters had some type of driving force or some conflict in their life that they were kind of facing, and so I felt like that made the plot move along well. I also loved how children were kind of portrayed in this book. Both Gabe and Ethan have a child, as well as Nicole has 2 children with her husband. And while I think they could have been written as just, people that existed but didn't really have any role in the debate, they noticed these tensions that were building between the adults and they kind of fed the fire a little bit. And that felt really realistic, that kids, while they might not understand all of the political debates, they do understand, of course, the tensions between people when things are not going quite as they once were. And I thought that that was really interesting. And Elizabeth Harris, I was actually reading an interview from her, and she has, I believe, 2 children. And so it felt like it was written by somebody who had kids and understood and understands those type of conflicts. My biggest issue with this, however, was maybe a bit of a misunderstanding between me and what I thought this book was going to be. And that is that this book ended up being a lot more about the intimate relationships, with politics as kind of a source of conflict, but not so much as addressing the main issue, the main question: can people that are politically different really truly coexist? I felt like it didn't quite go there and didn't answer that tough question, which I don't know if you can truly answer, but at least didn't answer it for these characters. These characters also didn't feel as fleshed out as perhaps they could have been. Each of them did have a trait and a struggle, but they didn't feel like full people to me. So Ethan, the Republican, Gabe, the Democrat, Gabe facing conflict with husband, but I don't know that that makes somebody a full character or a fully believable person. Not that they were completely flat, but I just think in this short of a book, we didn't really get them as fully realized as they could have been. And at the end of this video, I will talk about a spoiler thing that really irritated me if you have read it. So I'll give you plenty of warning before we go into that. But overall, I ended up giving this book a 2 stars. I think it was decently written. I think it had some interesting things that were brought up, but I do think that the synopsis led to a lot more potential than was actually delivered in the final book. But I am curious what this author will come out with next. I think her writing style was pretty readable and interesting. I think that she has a lot of interesting questions. I love that she writes about a lot of main characters who are queer. I love reading that in books, and I feel like a lot of the time a book is fully about someone being queer rather than other questions or other parts of their personality. And so I loved that their queerness, of course, was an important part of the book, but not the sole conflict or sole thing that was in here. But this didn't quite meet the mark for me, unfortunately. Now, I'm going to share a little spoilery section. So if you have not read the book, goodbye. I will see you in the next video. If you have read the book and want to hear me ramble about something a little spoilery, it's about to happen. One thing that really bothered me at the end of this book was that Ethan did not win the primary to run to be in Congress. And so I didn't feel like Gabe and Ethan ultimately overcame anything. They just realized that this current struggle in their relationship with him running for office is now over. And that just felt like we hadn't grown or gotten anywhere that we weren't before. Yes, we had addressed things in the race for office. Yes, there was conflict in that. But was there growth? Did we answer any questions? I don't know. I feel like this could have been more fleshed out at the end. And I feel like that whole plot line just felt like it wasn't going where I wanted it to go. And furthermore, Nicole and Kate actually end up getting back together. Both of them as characters were flawed. And so I kind of understood why they got back together, but I just feel like there was so much from their past that wasn't really addressed. And maybe that wasn't the point, but as a reader, I just wanted a bit more from those different aspects. Anyways, I would love to know if you have read this book, what you thought about it. Did you have any of the same issues that I had with the book? And with that, I will see you guys all very soon with another video. Bye.